Hello, and thank you for joining me on a tour of my VPX asset loader script. This is a quick little utility to help manage some assets that would be needed for Visual Pinball 10 tables as well as pinup pack items. My good friend Mod Retro has so kindly collated a bunch of those assets into a directory like you can see here. You can see I'm on my D drive, and you can just see all of the games. And inside of here, he's got them all nicely organized into directories for the things that might need to be changed when you go from nothing to something as it relates to visual pinball tables. So in each of these, he's got them nicely broken down. Here's all the alt color files. Same deal, alt sound. You'll notice that's zipped up. PUP packs, ROMs, and then of course under tables we've got the supporting table files. So this is really great. Unfortunately, if I wanted to take 107 of these items and copy them to my pinball or my pin cab, it would take a while, right? I'd have to go through every single one, go through each one of these and move them where I need them to be. So, but all that being said, this is a very nice organized way of maintaining these long term. So I thought, hey, why not write a script that kind of moves them back and forth? So as the script stands today, let me go over there. You can get to it here. GitHub, script block, and VPX asset loader. You'll notice that that's there. It's all open source. Have at it. It is actually just a PowerShell script, and all of it is, for the most part, documented. I'm sure I'm missing stuff, but you can read through here and understand the parameters and how they work and that sort of thing. But my goal today is to give you a quick tour of how it works and get you started. So easily enough, you would just go, and the only thing that really matters here is this PowerShell script. So you're going to go ahead and get that, whether you want to download this directly from here or copy paste or whatever. I don't care. Just you'll need to get that PowerShell script on your system. And one of the other key points here is that you will have to set your PowerShell execution policy to something less restrictive than default. I keep mine at bypass. Just be careful. Bypassing security on your PowerShell script can lead to bad things. There's nothing too heinous in my script, but it doesn't really do any checking. I give you a nice little disclaimer down here. I don't really check to make sure that the operations are safe. So don't screw up your computer by copying to places that are unintended. Anyway, that's my quick little disclaimer. You would go ahead and download this PowerShell script somewhere. In my house, I have my pin cab downstairs. It's on Wi-Fi, and I'm running this script from my PC at my desk. So I actually have a repository that's local. Here, I'll show you that. I have a repository of files that's local to my PC that I'm at now, and I've got a file share to my pinball table. You can see I reference that by UNC path. I have a share called pinball, and I actually have that same repository on that system. But if I go up a directory or two, you will see I have visual pinball, pinup system, direct output, the things that we would need for our pin cab to work. And then, of course, as you'd expect underneath here, I've got tables, vpin main, and yada, yada, yada. So point of the matter is I've got a local repository and a remote destination that I need to organize these files into. So suffice it to say, this works over the network. Be aware though that these files are big, so you'll see that right now when I go to run this script, it's going to take a while. So I'm actually not going to do it live. But if your pin cab's hooked up to your wired internet, or excuse me, your wired Ethernet, or you have a really good Wi-Fi next to your pin cab, this should be a pretty painless process. You can also keep your centralized repository on your pin cab and simply sync back and forth locally. That's what I do day to day because my Wi-Fi isn't. Well, I guess for one-offs I'll do it over the network. For the entire repository, it's just a little bit too slow and painful over the Wi-Fi. So, point of the matter, you can do it whichever way you like. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I will walk you through the script. So you can see here I've just got a regular old PowerShell window, and I've got the path. I'm in the path of that script itself. And let me go back to my simple example. Here we have, I'm just referencing the script in PowerShell, and then I have some parameters. The first one, probably most importantly, is where are the central assets? Where am I going to get these VPX files from? And I just point that right there. D downloads VPX games VPX. And underneath there would be all the tables like you see here. Notably, if there's spaces in your path, you'll have to have single or double quotes around that asset location. And that's true as we continue on. And then I've got a couple of parameters. Really simply, and probably the most easily or simple invocation of the script is just to list out the tables that I have given a particular filter. So here I'm looking at this table name parameter, takes a regular expression. This just means show me all the tables that start with A, but you could do something simple like just actually type in the name of the or Indiana Jones, not Indiana table, Indiana Jones. Go ahead and hit enter, and I spit out a quick little comma delimited report of the tables that match that pattern. So here I've got Indiana Jones, and then a bunch of columns for does it have the table files, does it have the ROM files, sound, color, NVRAM, PUP, and so on. And so just if you were to use this, you could output this to a actual file and then open it in Excel if you wanted to. Or if you just want a nice little graphical interface, you can add a parameter called grid view, and we'll go ahead and hit enter. And on the other screen that I'll pull over, oops, helpful if I actually accomplish what I'm trying to do. There we go. Okay, maybe not. One more time. Here we go. Here is that grid view. So you can see now it's a little bit more Excel-like. You can add, check and uncheck columns. You can filter. It's nice, especially if you just say, I want to see all of the tables in that repository. Dot matches at any character in regular expression. Go ahead and pull that screen back over. Here we go. And now you can see all of the games that are in my repository, nicely columnar with true false for if that resource exists. So now you could organize these really easily and see, okay, which tables do I have that have, PUP packs or have alt sound or NVRAM or what have you. Just really easy to sort through and give you some idea what the heck's going on. So easy enough, right? I just want to list everything out that's in that repository. But now, kind of where the rubber meets the road is I want to restore the data from that central repository into the proper locations on my pin cab. And so you can see that example here. In this case, I add a couple more parameters. First of all, the VPX location, meaning where is the visual pinball directory? And you can see there I'm pointing to that UNC path again. The pinball being the share on my pin cab and visual pinball being the directory underneath it. I also specify the pinup pack location, same deal, UNC path. You'll notice again, this one doesn't have quotes, this one does. It's because the spaces. And then I go back to the same parameter I had before. Where is the asset location? Where am I going to pull those resources from as I restore them to these other locations? I also have the table name parameter, regular expression. I can match whatever I want. And then the parameters get interesting, right? So in this case, I'm going to restore the data from the centralized repository to the cab. And then I get to specify some things. So first of all, and this is all in the docs, check it out. I can specify things like I want to copy the table files or the ROM files or the alt sound, right? I can specify which of those things that I want to copy or just copy all. And that will do all of the resources found for that table. And then one step down, because things like the ROM, alt sound, alt color, NVRAM, and PUP pack are really just one big file. Whereas when we copy the table, we also have several assets underneath there. So you can specify -table B2S, POV, VPX, and VBS individually. So maybe I just want to copy the Indiana Jones VBS file, or maybe just the new VPX file that I downloaded, copy that to my repository instead of copying every asset. Maybe you've got your POV just right and it's not quite updated in your repository yet, so you don't want to overwrite that. So you have lots of options. I'm going to go ahead and copy table all. So that means all table assets for all of the resources for any given table that matches. So I will go ahead and do, this is a case in point. I'll do Indiana Jones. It's probably one of the better ones I have as far as assets. And I'm going to go ahead and enter. And what you'll see is it matches Indiana Jones and it gives you some feedback. Okay, the There's not a B2S file in there, so it's not going to copy it, but it did do the POV, the Visual Basic, and the Visual Pinball 10. Those are being copied over right now. And you'll notice, I think the VPX file for Indiana Jones is a couple of 100 MB, and so it's taken a while. The Wi-Fi in my basement isn't great, and so it's just going to take a while. So you could see if you were going to do this across 100 games, you'd probably walk away and get a cup of coffee or 10. Even here, you can see alt sound. Alt sound is a zip file in the repository, and so it's going to take a while. It's going to unzip it and copy it over the network, and it's just a slow process if your Wi-Fi isn't up to snuff, which mine clearly is not. So while you can execute this over the network, maybe not always the best idea, but go for it if your network supports it. I think if I was on wired Ethernet, this would be a trivial experience. So I'm going to go ahead and Control C out of here and let that finish up. It won't take but a minute. There we go. Maybe. There we go. So that's all canceled out. But if I wanted to, for instance, maybe I just want to copy the ROM, right? Give you an example. I don't need to specify the table files because I'm only copying the ROM. And there we go. That was pretty quick. I just copied the Indiana Jones ROM file. So that's basically it. You can goof with those, the filter and the restore options for copying the different things. And just to give you an idea of what that might look like in a practical example, I will go ahead and remote into my pinball or my pin cab here. Show you what that looks like when it runs locally. There we go. Make this full screen for you. Maybe not. Okay, here's the pinball table. I guess we don't get full screen today. Anyway, I will go down and just launch a PowerShell. That's not really what I meant to do. PowerShell. There we go. All right. And so now if I go to my downloads directory or documents, there it is. I just renamed it. That's, you can see if I just got that. So I've got PB, pinball, whatever, PS1. That's my script. And oh, I bet I have to set execution. Son of a gun. Like I was saying, this is you've got to get the permissions just right. Maybe I didn't have that quite right. Set execution policy bypass. It's going to say, you sure you want to do that? Yep. And I'll come back over here, PB, and I should have, there we go. So my VPX location, if I give you a show here, here's the actual pin cab, which was same as, I mean, this is going to look exactly the same because I was actually using UNC path to the same exact directory here. You can see under my pinball directory, I actually have temp, which is all of that same table data in a centralized location. And then I've got the stuff where you'd expect C pinball, visual pinball, direct output, etc. It's all kind of there. So I can come over here and say, well, my VPX location is C pinball, visual pinball. There you go. And then I can say the PUP location is going to be very similar, C pinball. And then we'll go to pinup system, and I actually have pinup player underneath there. And you don't need these backslashes. It makes it a little messy, but it works even if you have them. And then the asset, right? The asset location is C, pinball, temp, VPX. That's where I stored all that stuff. So there we go. Now I've got that. And just as a sanity check, I can do list, table name, anything that starts with the letter, let's say A. There we go. Those are all the A tables that are located here in C pinball, temp, VPX. There we go. So A, right? Cool. Now, that's a sanity check. It's all good. So maybe now I want to, instead of list, I want to restore. And I want to restore again. Let's do everything that starts with the letter A. And I want to copy all the resources. And for the table, and default is all anyway, but I'm just going to specify it explicitly and go ahead and execute that. Now you can see the unzip things are going to happen much more quickly. These are local to the machine, the pin cab that I'm on. And so if you copy the entire repository to your pin cab and run this all locally, this will be super fast, and you can restore a bunch of tables to their proper locations, sort of script-wise. Next steps, this will be backed up. We'll have a backup parameter as well so that you can take files that you're working on in your working directories and back them up to this directory structure. And speaking of this directory structure, just a big shout out to Mod Retro for helping me get this organized. I think this is a pretty nice way of organizing these things, right? If you look inside, they're all organized really nicely, alt color, ROMs, tables, and then those resources inside. So this is super helpful for keeping the game resources all in one place and having the capability of then copying them to the places where they need to live for full functionality. And so that's it. Thanks for watching this little video. You can see my script is finished here, and you can get nice little output for every single game that you that matches the filter. And so now I've got in my pinball directory, I actually did a backup or restore last night, so I've got kind of, I think, everything in here. But you can see now they're all nicely organized. I've got my B2S, my point of views, scripts, and VP10 files. And then if I come back to things like vpinmame, now my ROMs directory will be all populated because I copied those. In fact, let me just proof in the pudding, right? Let's crush these ROMs and come back over here and say, well, I just accidentally deleted a bunch of ROMs, but let me go get them back. There we go. I come back over here and go to my ROMs. There they go. So just real simple way to copy and get all your resources from one location to another. I hope this helps. And like I said, the script is open source, so feel free to fork it or branch and merge, whatever. Like I'll take any merge requests that you send as long as it makes the script better. Thanks for watching and have a good day.